Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you would mind, we'd go ahead and at 6 o'clock on February 25th, we'll go ahead and begin the City of Social Circle Planning Commission meeting. We do have a quorum present with, let it known that Curtis Mullins, Adolphus Gaither, John Gardner, Signora Jackson, and Scott Gaither are present. We do have 2 members absent. We have minutes from the last meeting. The chair will entertain a motion to either approve or amend those minutes from the last meeting. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Gaither and second by Ms. Jackson. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. The minutes passed unanimously. So before we begin the public hearing tonight, the public hearing part of their agenda, there are some rules I'd like to read for us. Please bear with me. Foremost, for the record, to reflect any speakers who wish to respond for or against the application of any item on the agenda, each speaker must sign up to register their intent. If you do not register prior to the commencement of this meeting, you will not be called upon and you will not be allowed to speak. Each item shall be handled in the order of the published agenda. However, upon motion of the commission, it is possible that the order of the agenda may be changed. Therefore, it is recommended that all parties interested remain in the meeting in the event the change of order of the agenda. As each agenda item is brought forth, the city staff will present the application, the background of the property involved, and provide a recommendation. After the staff has presented the application, the applicant or the applicant's agent will give his or her presentation of the item. The applicant's time is limited to a total of 10 minutes. The applicant may designate any remaining time for rebuttal to any opposition to the application. All registered speakers who wish to speak in favor of the application will then be heard and will also be limited to 10 minutes total, not each. Once the applicant has made his or her presentation and the board and other pro-applicant speakers have been heard, the chair will then call upon registered speakers who wish to speak against the application. The opposition shall likewise be limited to 10 minutes total, not each. After the public comments have been heard, the Planning Commission members will discuss the request amongst themselves. Upon a motion and second by the members of the commission, an action on the application may be taken to either approve with conditions, approve with an alternative zoning district that is lesser than which is being advertised, or deny the request. Now, these matters are sometimes highly contested and can result in highly adversarial positions among the participants in attendance. This meeting is not the place for such discussions. Rather, this is a meeting to hear the facts and opinions as presented by all parties. Each public speaker will be called upon by the chair, and each speaker must address the commission. Any conversations between the speaker and other members in the audience not called upon by the chairman shall be deemed out of order. All speakers are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner, and any involvement of personalities or the use of abusive or profane language will not be tolerated. Now, with that said, we'll move on to the first item on the agenda. It is a public hearing request or rezoning of 662, 684, and 634 Wildwood Drive, known as tax parcels SC090018B00, SC090010B00, SC090020, and SC090019. This is a request to rezone from Residential District 15 and Agricultural District to residential medium density for the purpose of building townhomes. I'll turn it over to Ashley, please.
Thank you, Scott. So I'll go over the staff report really quickly. Give me a second. So as stated, the request is to rezone the property from Ag and Residential 15 to Residential Medium Density for a proposed 90-unit single-family townhome development to provide middle-income housing options within the city limits. The proposed rezone to RMD would be to allow for the development of single-family townhomes as a way of meeting housing needs within the city limits. There would be a community association similar to like an HOA as part of the development as well. The character area for these properties has been identified as neighborhoods character area, which does allow for residential uses such as townhomes as an appropriate use. However, the mayor and council have discussed where they would like to see single family attached developments such as townhomes and condos and things like that go. And we are currently updating our comprehensive plan to reflect those conversations. And during that discussion, this area was brought up, and the mayor and council were strongly against high density housing coming to this specific area. So diving more into the plan, on the proposed site plan, which is in your packet as Exhibit A, the proposed development would consist of approximately 90 single-family townhomes, 2 to 3 bedrooms with garages. It also would consist of open spaces, a dog park, a gazebo for the community, and there would also be 2 separate entrances along Wildwood Drive as well. In addition to what is shown in the notes on Exhibit A, the proposed development would also be required to meet all dimensional requirements outlined in Table 2.1.5 of the city's UDC. And they would also need to provide a plan showing these dimensional requirements being met prior to any permits being issued. The stormwater detention pond currently shown as being on another individual's property, so that will also need to be updated as well. And during the community meeting that was held on February 17th, 2025, you guys also have the notes from that, which is labeled as Exhibit B in your packets. The developers addressed general questions about the proposed development, as well as concerns regarding the strain that the development would have on the existing infrastructure. The applicant stated that the intent of the development is to address the missing middle housing options within the city, with price points ranging from $300K to $350K. And the applicant asserted that RMD zoning for the development of townhomes is the most appropriate use of these properties. Regarding the concerns of the increased traffic of 100 to 180 vehicles in the area, as well as the expressed desire that the road in the area be widened, the developers stated that they would be willing to discuss options with the city. There were also concerns of taxpayers having to fund the necessary infrastructure improvements to support the project, to which the developers stated that the new homeowners would also be taxpayers, and that the developer would continue the already open lines of communication with the city regarding these concerns as well. So there's also currently a 6-inch water main in the area. However, there is some concern as to whether it would be able to support the volume and pressure needed for that many additional units. Regarding sewer, there is gravity-fed sewer on the property, but the developer would be responsible for relocating it, closer to the property line so that there would be more usable area for the development. As it pertains to stormwater management, there are drainage issues currently on the property due to the lack of defined ditches. Therefore, curb and gutter along with 24 to 30-inch culvert pipes would need to be installed to address these issues. Concerning public safety, the roads are only currently 14.5 feet wide and would be unable to support emergency vehicle traffic for the development, to include school bus traffic as well. There would also need to be a significant upgrade in the water lines, as there is currently inadequate volume needed along Wildwood Drive to support fire flow for a development of this size. So the developer would be responsible for addressing all infrastructure concerns and required improvements. And the applicant has requested to table this until the March Planning Commission meeting, in order to have more discussions with the city based off the findings of the staff report. In our pre-application meetings and everything, the staff did mention that there would need to be infrastructure improvements that would fall on the developer. We didn't go into the extent that the staff report does go into, and that was published last week. So the applicant got it at the same time that the public got it. So staff's recommendation is to table the rezoning request from AG to R15 to RMD to the March 25th Planning Commission meeting as requested by the applicant.
Okay, so commission members, before we take any other actions to open up the public hearing, the request has been made by the applicant to table this item to be heard on the March Planning Commission, which would be March 18th. 25th, thank you for correcting me, the last Tuesday of the month. I was trying to shortchange us a week. So there's 2 options on the board. We can make a recommendation and accept the request to table it, or we can deny the request to table it and hold the Planning Commission meeting and public hearing as advertised tonight. That is on the table for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation. So we have quite a few people here tonight. That's been advertised for the public hearing. It's in It's in y'all's hands if you want to hold the public hearing tonight and move forward, or have this meeting and this item on the March agenda with other items.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Can you say again what the reason for moving it or requesting to move it to March is?
Yeah, so the applicant emailed me and requested tabling to the March 25th meeting in order to have a meeting with city staff to address the concerns in the staff report. I think the applicant is wanting to see if there's a middle ground that we can come to, get the city's opinions on why this was the recommendation that staff made. But like I said, in the staff report, mayor and council have been pretty clear about not wanting this type of development in that area. But we are open to having that meeting. And I think that meeting will take place either way, but it gives us more time for them to go back to the drawing board if this were to change their entire application. If the city doesn't budge on their recommendation, this would give them the opportunity to potentially withdraw the townhome application and potentially go back to the drawing board and offer up a different project. Mm-hmm.
When would this, if this were to stay on the schedule, when would this be heard by mayor and council?
I believe it would be the March 18th date. I think that's why that was in your head, but let me confirm that really fast. So yeah, it would be March 18th at 6:30 is the mayor and council meeting. So it would go on as advertised. If you guys did choose to table this, staff would amend the signs that are out at the site so that the dates were reflective of the new dates, basically, or the new schedule, and we would also amend our newspaper advertisement as well.
So, given that the request to table is before us, we could deny that request, hold the public hearing tonight. It would then go before the mayor and council on their March 18th. Again, there could have been time for the applicant and city to meet. The applicant could request to withdraw to the mayor and council, or the mayor and council may table it and kick it back to the planning commission for further consideration. So asking you all tonight, do you guys want to table the request, or do you want to move forward and hear it tonight? The chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to table it till next month.
Okay, we have a motion to table till next month. Is there a second? Motion dies for a lack of second. Is there a motion to deny the table and hear the request tonight?
I make a motion to hear it tonight.
Okay.
Deny the table.
There's a motion to deny the table. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, let the record show that Mr. Gardner opposed to that. So we will move forward with the public hearing tonight. And at this time, Ms. Gray, as the applicant, would you please come up and we'll keep your time?
I was expecting a table, if you wouldn't mind
Yeah.
seeing my presentation, I appreciate it.
Give me 1 second.
Is there a slide at the end?
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry.
We're good? We're good?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
ma'am.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Gray, and I represent JMS Properties and their request to rezone 11.1 acres to RMD for a quality townhome community. The property location, Ms. Ashley did a great job, so I hate to be repetitive, but I'll go through these quickly. But the property is about 0.7 miles from essentially where we are right now. I measured that from the actual well, which is the center of downtown. Fronts on Wildwood Drive. The back of the property is bordered by the CSX Railroad. It's just down the road from Hickory Drive and Lakewood Drive, which I know some of the folks here with us tonight are from those areas. As you mentioned, the property is currently zoned part agricultural. That's the part in purple you see there, and then part R15 against the road where residential development had been. The agricultural zone property had greenhouses for an agricultural business that was being run out of the property prior to my client purchasing it. The site plan, again, we're on 11.1 acres. There's 90 townhomes shown. They all would be under a mandatory HOA, so there'd be governance there as to how the property's maintained, who's collective pitching in for paying for the common area properties, the detention pond, dog park, and the other amenities that are included would all be controlled under that HOA. The property will have 2 entrances off of Wildwood Drive, 4-foot sidewalks within the development, and extended driveways, 25-foot long driveways, and 1-car garages, and an effort to keep cars from parking on the road in this development. And again, we have these nice amenities of dog park, a gazebo, which is a place where the community could gather, hold their HOA meetings and whatnot, and significant open space shown here on the site plan in green. Here's the representative front elevation of the property. We're building 2 and 3 bedroom townhomes. They all have to be a minimum of 1,000 square feet, but we expect that they'll be larger than that. The ordinance requires high quality construction with which we will comply with, including stone or brick water tables, cement siding, no vinyl siding, no metal siding whatsoever. We will comply with all those heightened ordinance requirements. Here you can see that the front door is covered by an overhang, which I think is a nice touch here. We've got variation in roof pitches and window variation within this unit shown on this depiction. And again, as Ashley mentioned, this is a housing option in between single detached family homes and apartment homes. It hits that middle demographic of people that can't quite afford to buy the single family detached homes, but again, don't want to live in an apartment. And so based on our reading of the comprehensive plan, at least the one currently in place, this would be hitting on that missing middle housing component that the city was in need of. And I will say the staff report that says that the city recently met and was not wanting this type of development on this area, that is new information to us. We did not know that coming into this. The comprehensive plan, again, designates this as a neighborhood area, which is appropriate for our RMD zoning. And again, the missing middle component is really what we were trying to achieve to give the city housing type variety. Here is a rear depiction of the building and the side elevation as well. And you'll see again in the back, the doors are inset into the development there. And again, the water table would continue around the entirety of the buildings. We did hold a community meeting last Monday, the 17th. It was very well attended. Appreciate all of those who were able to come out. A great crowd. They clearly care about their community, care about each other, care about the city. They were very constructive in giving us feedback about the development. Some things that we learned were we got more information about the infrastructure needs in the area, about the roads, about sewer. So we got a lot of really good feedback from the community. On some things, obviously, you have to agree to disagree on some things as far as bringing in a townhome development to this area. But we really do appreciate the community giving us feedback. And again, as Ashley stated, our intent is to meet with the city to better understand the infrastructure needs and what my client can do to help address those.
5 minutes.
And again, the staff report, which I was able to download on Thursday of last week, Some of the recommendations for the extent of infrastructure being requested was more than we expected and not anything that we had heard about before. So again, we were asking for more time to be able to talk to the city, which we will still do. We will absolutely do that following this meeting. So again, that we can reach some understanding of what my client will contribute to helping alleviate some of those infrastructure needs in order to be able to put this development on the property on Wildwood. So with that, in summary, our request again is to rezone the property at 662, 684, and 643 on Wildwood Drive from agriculture R15 to RMD for a quality townhome development. With that, I reserve the remainder of my time for rebuttal.
Thank you. That's a little more than 4 minutes is what my clock shows. Real quick, Ms. Gray.
Yes, sir.
Questions about the product as you're going through your presentation, I noticed. Most of them would be a one-car garage, or is that just a illustration difference and it will be a two-car garage?
So it was a one-car garage based on the limitation that only 40% of the facade
Can
could
be
be
garage.
garage, right?
Okay. How wide will the units be, 20 foot or 21 foot wide?
I don't have the exact dimension, I'm sorry.
Okay. So if you were to expand that to like a 25-foot wide unit, you could get a two-car garage in there, likely.
If you expand it, yes, the 40% would be a different
Okay.
calculation.
How many differentiating front facades does your client propose to have within this 90-home community?
Well, the representative one we showed there would be varied based on the number of units put together. So if you see, if you don't mind, if it's
Yeah,
okay
please.
to go back.
Yes,
on the,
please. And we've got screens here, so we're looking
Oh,
down.
okay, great. Yeah, I wasn't sure how that worked. But you can see here there's different groupings of the homes throughout the development. And so there would be, variety based on the number of townhomes that are in each area shown here. And again, this is our, rendering, and we will work with the city as we need to make sure we're following the ordinance. We have not asked for any variances.
So would your client just build the same 4 facades 90 times over and not give any differentiation?
I don't think that's the intent. Again, this is our, our
This is
first,
bare bones.
This is our first rendering.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now the comp plan, while the comp plan may say that this area would be a neighborhood character area, obviously we have to look at, is the zoning appropriate in light of the surrounding built environment and things of that nature. And that's something that we'll keep in mind as we're looking at the proposed use and proposed request. Are there any other questions of Ms. Gray at this time? Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll open up. There was no other speakers signed up to speak in favor of, but we do have a few who like to speak in opposition. There's 11 total. I want to remind you, maybe 10 because someone scratched their name out. I want to remind you that there is a total of 10 minutes, not 10 minutes each. So I'll call them in order of signed in. Mike Jones, if you'll come up and state for the record your address, name.
Sure. My name's Mike Jones. I live at 668 Wildwood Drive.
Okay.
And our big concern is, and we've heard a lot about the neighborhood character in this area. Our property abuts the south side of this property. In the city comprehensive plan, in the introduction under future land use, it states the intention is to influence growth and development throughout the community in consideration of existing development patterns, access to utilities, services, and community needs and goals. I believe the consideration of existing development patterns is huge in looking at this. There's 19 homes on Wildwood Drive. We're at the start of it above Lakewood until it turns into the dirt road area, which is where this development wants to go. There's 19 homes. 6 of those homes are zoned agricultural. 5 are zoned R25 and 8 are zoned R15. Nowhere in this area does RMD reflect the existing development patterns of Wildwood Drive or Lakewood Drive or Hickory or Joseph Lane or Joseph Court for that matter. So, also, I know time's limited. We do have over 80 signatures on a petition against this from people just in this area that will be affected by traffic. by the lack of water, sewer, and runoff. So, thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Next, we have, is it, I'm sorry, is that Ms. Jones?
I signed the wrong paper.
Oh, okay.
I signed in.
Well, check you're here. Then we have is that a Wendell Pitts? Yes, sir. Okay.
My name's Wendell Pitts. I live at 577 Wildwood Drive. And I have a plat showing the roadway and the right-of-way on the road. And there is a 30-foot right-of-way from outside of the ditch to outside of the ditch home. That's all it's got. I own a bunch of it. Johnny and Joy owns the other part, and Joyce owns the rest of it. We have no intention of selling.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Michael Davis.
My name is Michael Davis. I live at 101 Gabriel Way. I do not live in this exact area, but I'm very familiar with this area. I go over there quite a bit. I have friends that live in that neighborhood. I just have a few things to say. First of all, it's already been mentioned about bus and school transportation issues there. That would be a major issue down through there. Having served the school district as a transportation director, I know that's a major problem down there, as well as the fire service. That is a major thing. Don't think the city should have to undertake that at the expense of our taxpayers when someone else is wanting to build there that no one wants there. The things that I wonder about is environmental studies, because knowing how that land floods down through there from time to time, water going across that road, I wonder if that's been looked at. Already been mentioned about water and sewage and drainage and the city infrastructure there, but I'd just like to ask Ms. Gray, would your client desire to live over there in one of those townhomes?
Mr. Davis,
Or
to
would
us,
you
please.
ask her if her
Sure,
client
yes, sir.
would like to desire to live in
Yes,
that
sir.
neighborhood if built? And also, why did they not do their due diligence on the infrastructure and these issues before putting out this plan?
okay, thank you. Got Doug Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Doug Hawkins. I live at 920 Lakewood Drive. I did make a few notes. Pardon me. I made a few notes regarding the issues that I have, and I would like to submit those so that you can just include them in your minutes, if you will.
Okay.
These are the questions that I asked. I'll briefly go over. The number one, which is in the notes that were taken by the developer, they stated that the water pump station overflow went into my basement. It's actually 52 feet, somewhat above the level of the water there, so that's a misstatement, so I'd like to have that corrected. The larger parcel is zoned AZ. The three small parcels are R15 lots. So it's somewhat misleading when we say it's a change from R15 to RMD. We're actually talking about agricultural property, which is the primary lot size for that particular area. Also, I addressed at a previous meeting and also talked to the city planning office to consider a transportation corridor. We have one that's for the bypass, but we also need to address one for that railroad. Tremendous safety hazard there. If you check the records, you'll find that there are approximately 3 railroad crashes or derailments per day in the United States. This is a bad situation there. I've gone into the records and actually recorded all
5 minutes.
actually recorded the railroad derailments for this area. Have those available for the next meeting. Hope that I can share them. The noise and vibrations from the train cars idling there, multiple tracks, that has not been addressed. In that, as I pointed out to the city planning office, they have to address, or need to address, both vibrations and the noise that's coming from the railroad to that, in addition to the safety issues, because we're going to have kids that are in this area, and I think they had talked about perhaps putting a fence up. I think that's inadequate to address these other issues. The existing pump stations that are on Edmonston and Railroad will not handle any additional flow there. Councilman Shelton stated in the meeting that the city is not going to spend any money on development there, and he said Lakewood. I'm assuming that he was talking about Wildwood Drive. Wildwood Drive also enters Walton County and Newton County combination road ownership, not paved. The incline going up to the railroad track with a crossing on the outward side near Highway 11 is for a 12% incline, about a 64 foot back, and if you address a 40-foot trailer going across, a bus going across, also a fire truck going across, there is no set standard as to what the distance is from the bottom of that truck to the ground. I think we need to address that, the incline there. I don't think that we would be able to access it in that manner. Is there a possibility, the other thing I had, would these rentals possibly end up being rental units as has occurred in these other type developments of this nature? And is there even a possibility there might be Section 8 housing? Those are the only things that I have at this time.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have just under 3 minutes remaining. We have Deanna O'Brien.
They have shared my concerns very well, so I'll
Thank-
defer to the next person.
Thank you. We have Michael Phillips.
I'll defer to the next person.
Thank you. Vance Burgess.
Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners, thank you for letting me speak. Vance Burgess, and I have property at 665 Wildwood Drive directly across from this property. And my parents own property directly across to Jim and Madeline Burgess, and they've authorized me to speak. I don't have too much to add other than just to state publicly our opposition to this request. Very serious concerns about the character of this development. It certainly does not fit in with the character of this neighborhood. Huge concerns with infrastructure. If you know there's a dirt road that's just barely around the corner where this connects into Cherokee on one end, and that just seems like a lot of problems there. And safety is another giant concern of ours. If anybody who is familiar with this stretch drives from Wildwood or Lakewood up to Cherokee, trying to turn left or right it's dangerous. You're kind of putting your life in your own hands. I can't imagine adding 90-plus cars to that. So just wanted to state our opposition, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Joy Howard.
My name's Joy Howard. I live at 532 Hickory Street, and the first thing I want to say, the retention pond is on my property. Nobody has said whether they will move it. I thought it needed to be corrected before it come this far, because we own that property that they've got the retention pond on. That was be a very, concern. And like you said, everybody down there does not want this, the streets. And if any of you have not rode down by there and looked, I would suggest that you ride down all the streets, go over the hill, out to Highway 11, and see yourself. That is very dangerous for buses, and there will be cars being parked on the side of the road there, because you're not going to be able to get that many cars at that garage. And when the emergency vehicles start down through there, there's going to be cars everywhere. Mr. Jones has already experienced that in Newton County. You holler and move this car, move that car, and whatever. And unless them ordinances
minute.
are really hunker down, nobody's going to abide by them ordinances. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And we have Ben Curlin.
Hey, I'm Ben Curlin. I live at 570 Lakewood.
The main problem with this is it doesn't meet the middle ground you guys are looking for. Me and my wife are both teachers. We bought an acre on Lakewood, built a 2,500 square foot home for $320,000. That's the range y'all are looking at. The value's not here. The density is the main problem. That's 9 people per acre, 9 houses per acre. I think many people would be able to understand and live with if they were detached homes with maybe a third of an acre. So if we talked about 11 acres and 33 houses each, that would put everybody at rest for a development, because there's no way the traffic of 90 people are going to take a left
So, Mr. Curlin,
down the dirt road.
we heard you. The time has expired. All right. Ms. Gray, you have 4 minutes and 4 seconds for rebuttal.
Thank you, sir. I'm just going to go through my notes here and hit some of the concerns that were raised. But again, I appreciate this group of people and how much they care about their community and coming out here tonight and how cordial they have been to me through this process. So just want to say that about the folks that are here tonight. I'm going to start at the top and work my way through my notes. The first, I heard several people say I'm concerned about the character of this development and how it fits in this particular area. And so this area is residential. The Hickory Meadows subdivision backs into it. But I think part of the point of this is to provide a different type of housing option for the city. And again, we are trying to hit that middle, the lacking middle housing ground here, to have housing for teachers, firefighters, policemen, service workers. That's the intent. The intent here is to do something a little different that's close to the downtown, and to give people who want to live here in Social Circle an option. A lot of people do want to live here in Social Circle. People are flocking in to Walton County, and again, the point is to be a little different, to provide another option. A lot of concerns I heard tonight about the road, Wildwood in particular, the width of it, the need for improvements. We don't disagree. Again, that's why we want to meet and talk to the city about the extent of what needs to be done there and what our part is in doing that. And so we understand, we hear those concerns. Also with the water and sewer, again, we understand that there are concerns raised by these folks, and we'd like to sit down with the city to figure out what my client's part in that needs to be to make this happen. With regard to concerns about water runoff, when we submit the final plans, we will have to comply with the Georgia Stormwater Manual to make sure that none of the water on our site is running off into other properties. With regard to the current detention pond shown, we did not intend for it to be shown on the neighbor's property. That was just an error in drafting our concept plan. No intent there whatsoever. Sorry for the mistake, and we will correct that going forward. Let's see, a couple other notes I made here about the railroad and the safety there. There are a lot of developments along this railroad. There's a lot of neighborhoods. We certainly understand the concerns. My client is willing to put a fence there to make sure that we can contain our residents, right? Well, that's kind of the universe that we can control, and we would do that to add to the safety of that. This is not meant to be a Section 8 housing development. These are meant to be fee simple lots so that people would own this. It'd be home ownership for people in this development. Let's see, looking over my notes. Again, we hear you on infrastructure. We hear you on that, and we want to meet with the city on that to make sure we're on the same page there. And again, this is a different development, and that is the intent. It will be quality. It will be consistent with your ordinances. My client is willing to pitch in on some infrastructure. Again, just trying to figure out what the scope of that might be for this. And he wants to be a good neighbor. He wants to listen to these folks, work with them. And again, we're moving forward with this tonight, and I certainly understand that and the interest and respect for everyone's time. But again, we want to be good neighbors. We will work with them. And with that, I'm happy to answer any final questions you may have.
Sure. I do have one question. Mr. Davis has a question. Would you or your client live in one of these proposed townhome units?
Would I live in a townhome unit?
Of one of these proposed townhome
Yeah,
units?
well, yes, the quality of these will be such that I would live in that for the quality of it. But personally, I'm not in the missing middle category, so but other people are, I'm just in a different stage of life, as is my client. But I would not be ashamed to live here if I were in my 20s and I was a teacher and I, was on a limited salary and I could be walkable to the downtown social circle with restaurants and shops. It's very attractive.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the, yes, ma'am?
2 questions. Really.
Just make sure to turn on your microphones. Thank you.
Okay.
I got it for you.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Really. I live beside a railroad
Yes,
with
ma'am.
idling trains, and I've been there a little over 50 years. My floors have it idling and it have shook it down, so that's one concern. And another concern is the length of the road. I heard someone talk about they own one part and one gutter and another neighbor on the other. And I'm on a street that's a 2-way street that should be a 1-way street, but it's kind of halfway impossible to do that. And how wide would the roads be, the streets?
Well, the city ordinance has a requirement, and I will not, Ashley could speak to that better than I could for sure.
Yeah, our city ordinance does have a requirement for that, so that would be discussed in the meeting with the applicant. Off the top of my head, I can't remember that exact number. I want to say it's in the neighborhood of 25 feet is the minimum road width. That's not including the right of way. So that is something that, in the meeting with the applicant, we would have to discuss, because obviously that is a major concern with this development.
I believe the minimum requirement is a 50-foot right-of-way, so while the road width itself may only be 25 feet between curb to curb, the right-of-way is 50 feet. And obviously, if there's only a 30-foot right-of-way, then the issue would be either the applicant or the city will have to acquire the additional right-of-way to make the road improvements.
The reason I was asking is because I came home from work one day, and it was a car had went over. A tree happened to been there, and it caught the car to keep it from falling.
Onto the railroad tracks.
Over, down.
Wow. Are there any other questions? Ms. Gray, did you want to address the rest of her question?
Sure, yes. I guess there were statements about being next to a railroad and concerns about stability of construction, and then I guess concerns about maybe noise from that. I guess since this will be a new development, it'll be built to current building code and standards, and people moving here will know that there's a railroad track, right? We're not, it's not going to be a new development, so they would take that into consideration when choosing to live here. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch the other question. Was there another question?
The width of the
Yeah, it was about the width of the road. I think, did I address your concerns on that? Okay. I think I handled that one.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, Ms. Gray.
Thank you.
So, commission members, based on the ordinance, the actions that we can take are to recommend to the mayor and council to approve the request with conditions, approve with the alternative zoning district that is lesser than which is advertised, or deny. Any thoughts, discussions that you want to have?
I will say, just for the record, since we move forward with the public hearing, staff's recommendation is to deny.
With no discussion, the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to deny the request and 2 seconds. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry about this. Is it, I talked to you
You can talk to all of us.
Yeah.
Is there any other property in Social Circle since they want to build townhomes? I'm on board with the townhomes.
Well,
Yeah, I'll answer that question. There were some properties identified by the mayor and council, and the next item on our agenda is kind of the beginning of that process of amending our comprehensive plan to identify those properties. One of which is the mill property. I know that the DDA is working hard to work with the Brownfield assessment grant, and they're going to start talking about reuse and planning for that property. And mayor and council has said that would be a great place for higher density developments like condos or townhomes, or something like a retail on the first floor and condos on the top floor type thing.
so before we go down that rabbit hole, we have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
motion on the table and a second. If there's no other discussion to be had on the motion and second, all those in favor of the motion to deny, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Motion passed unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, the item we heard tonight, we're a recommending body. Our recommendation will be forwarded to the mayor and council. Mayor and council makes the final decisions. Here's the hard part. We have one other item on the agenda. You're welcome to stay for it. We'd like for you to stay for it, but we understand you came for one item only. If you would like to file out, please do so respectfully when we'll continue our business. So,
We can take a brief recess if we want to, like.
okay. Take a 2-minute recess. And I think that's what Ashley's going to talk to us about here in just a minute. Make the turn over the dirt road, and cross over the railroad track. And that water line project that's went through there, Markle Estates. Well, that's what she's gonna talk about here, the comp plan kickoff. But we do have a couple items on next month's agenda that will require public hearings. So, but yeah, that's what we're talking about. What's that? Yeah, I did. Have you been to Colorado Springs? Colorado Springs, just down the road from here. Those are some big houses. No, they're all big, two-story. I don't know. I don't know if they will or not. Do you? Well, people aren't really moving like I thought they would.
All right, guys, we do have to keep going. So if you want to stay, you're more than welcome to. But we gotta keep on moving. So we're not here till 8 o'clock.
All right. So the next item on the agenda is a comprehensive plan amendment kickoff, and Ashley kind of led us into that. So Ashley, do you want to carry that discussion, please?
Sure thing. So just to explain, this is kind of a checkoff item that we have to have per DCA whenever we do any kind of amendment that passes over the major amendment threshold for comprehensive plan amendment. So basically, what I'm going to go over is the purpose of a comprehensive plan, the overview of the plan amendment process, opportunities for public participation and engagement, and then we'll have an opportunity for anybody who wants to speak on in the public hearing portion, which is just really a public comment. It's not really speaking for or against. So, what is a comprehensive plan? It's a 20-year guide to growth and development for a local government. It's updated usually every 5 years. We're updating ours kind of halfway through our 5-year process. So, we'll update it now to reflect some of the changes that we've made recently, including our UDC and this conversation around higher density housing. We'll also have to update it when we have the countywide update in another 2.5-ish years. Like I said, it can be amended anytime within the 5-year process, but because we do a joint comp plan with Walton County, we'll also participate in that update as well, which is a little bit more intense and involves a lot more public input than just an amendment. So a comp plan also addresses these questions about your community. Where are we now? Where are we going? Where do we want to be? And how do we get there? So we have action items in our comprehensive plan too that we try to meet within 5 years. So our currently adopted plan was adopted in 2022. The City of Social Circle is looking to amend the comprehensive plan. We're looking to mainly amend our land use element. Again, that's going to be our future land use map, and we're talking about adding a character area to specifically address the townhomes, the condos, the potential apartments that are obviously very interested in coming to Social Circle, because we don't have anything that specifically addresses that type of housing in our comprehensive plan. So the land use element includes a map and an accompanying narrative that defines land use designations like I just talked about. This element provides the basis and authority for zoning decisions. So in every staff report I give you guys, you'll notice I'm always referencing the comprehensive plan, because that's kind of, as a planner, that's kind of our guiding light or our Bible, our guide to say this is what we want and where we want it type deal. So the roles and responsibilities in this amendment, the city's elected officials and staff, they're offering direction, oversight, plan adoption, and plan implementation. The regional commission is also helping us, since they helped us with the last iteration of the comprehensive plan. They're doing all of the text amendments, the mapping, and the technical analysis for us. Just because I get very busy in my office, so it gets a little hard to do everything everywhere all at once. So this is kind of our scheduling overview. Today we're having our initial public hearing. Again, this is kind of a checkbox item that we have to do per DCA. We're going to present our draft changes to the council on March 22nd. That is when that's a Saturday. That's when council is doing their annual retreat. So it's a kind of a all-day session where we talk about the more in-depth items that we can't really cover in a work session. The revisions based off of council feedback and potential public feedback will happen in April and May, and then we will have our final public hearing sometime in the summer. It has to be advertised, of course, of 2025, and that's when people can come out and speak on the comprehensive plan yet again. Once we have that final public hearing, we'll transmit the plan to the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission and the Department of Community Affairs for state and regional review. That takes about 40 days. So that will, once that 40 days has gone by, they'll say, yay, nay, this all looks good, which they should say it all looks good since we're getting the regional commission's help. And yeah, so now we can open up the floor to any public comments or questions, concerns, anything that the public feels we need to address in this amendment. I don't think we had anybody sign up, but we can open the floor if the chairman chooses. But that's really the presentation that I have on this.
Thanks, Ashley. I'm a bit perplexed, as this is the first we're hearing about it. I do remember the comp plan, the full comp plan update in 2022, as does Signor and Adolphus. I know Valerie and was here, and Ms. Brown. So it was quite an undertaking that we did, and it actually kicked off, I believe, towards the tail end of 2020, and COVID kind of slowed things down. DCA kind of gave us a break and let us extend it out, and we finally got it adopted in 22. But with the kickoff of the public hearing, has there been any other advertisement or discussion of this so people would know that this is taking place?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been talking about this with folks for quite some time. It's been something that's been on our radar to do. We first reached out to the Region Commission. I believe it was the end of 2024. So then we had to put in our budget in March. So once the budget became available in July, starting July 1, that's when we engaged the Regional Commission again. So we haven't had a public hearing, but if people have asked, I've definitely said something, or if it's something that is getting addressed in our comprehensive plan. I think there have been a couple folks that have come up to me and said, you know, what is this GC in your comprehensive plan? And I said, well, that used to be in our old code. Now in our new code, it's business. So it can get kind of confusing as staff member to give recommendations. We're kind of interpreting the comp plan, which isn't something that, it is something you can do, but it's not always the best thing to do. Because you want to be able to say this does match our comp plan or it doesn't.
So this comp plan public hearing kickoff has been advertised.
It's been in the paper. Yeah, it's been in the paper. It's been on the website. The full edits haven't been on there because this is just the kickoff meeting, and that was upon recommendation of the Regional Commission.
Can you go back one screen?
Yeah.
Thank you. So at this point, this is, we call it an initial public hearing. That's what kickoff, and that's to identify those few elements within the comp plan that need tweaking before that 5-year update is done. And obviously, will there be any other ways that the public can participate, or to have to email, say, hey, what about this? Are there any other
absolutely
work? Is there potential to have a follow-up kind of where we're at with this, check up, maybe another public hearing at the next planning commission, so that maybe that we can be able to participate a little bit more?
Sure thing, yeah. So with an amendment, it's not like Scott said, the 5-year updates are a lot more intensive. It's also a joint process with Walton County and all of the other cities in Walton County. But yeah, we can definitely put another public hearing on our March 25th meeting. We'll go ahead and start getting that advertised.
Is that enough time? Because you're presenting the draft changes to the city council.
Yeah, so that'll be enough time, because we'll have the draft changes for city council ready to go. Okay. And those will be published. I'm not exactly sure when Susan would publish that, but those will have been published at least from March 21st.
Okay.
So we can definitely have that published, ready to go.
And we'll be able to talk more in depth about what those changes are looking like at our February or March meeting.
Yeah.
Also.
So that'll be the Tuesday after we have our retreat. So I'll be able to talk about what council feedback was and everything like that too.
We'll have the baseline of what.
Yeah.
What changes.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't expect anybody to vote on anything without, it won't come before you guys for a recommendation vote or anything like that. But I mean, you guys are a big part of the comprehensive plan too. I mean, you guys use it as a tool as well. So I think
we're stakeholders in that plan.
Correct. Yeah. So I think that your feedback would be really great, and of course we want as much public input as we can get.
Well, since this is kind of kicking it off, I don't know if the public here has a lot to
go off of.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. But at this time, is there anyone who would like to speak about a comprehensive plan, kind of mid-plan update? If you'd like to speak about it, give some ideas of things you'd like to see, things that can be considered, please come forward. We'll give you a few minutes, and we'll set public hearing. Since it's 10 minutes, we'll give a total of 10 minutes for those who would like to give us some direction and some ideas on that comp plan. If you want to raise your hand, so there's not a rush all at once. Ms. Morris, please come up.
Good evening. Sorry I didn't make it in for the first part of the meeting. Y'all were at capacity. Y'all were so popular tonight. My name is Taylor Morris. I live at 3045 Clegg Farm Road. And the only thing I really would like to say, first off, is thank y'all. Thank you for doing a really thankless job. I know that serving in public capacity is not always popular, but thank y'all for doing it. And I would just encourage, as we look at the comp plan moving forward, that just because someone wants to come doesn't mean that it's a right fit for the community. And I think that y'all do a really good job of that. But I think that the investment needs to be kind of backwards at this point because it's now a popular place to be. We get to pick and choose how we want the city to look 15, 20, 30 years from now. And so I think a really proactive approach of understanding what the citizens who are already invested here want for their community long term will help that. And I think y'all are doing a great job of that. I was listening on FaceTime to the first part of the meeting. But I think we're in a really unique position now, even than we were 5 years ago. So I think it's awesome to continue to look at the plan. But that would be my only real thing, is to have a really good idea of where you want to be 20 years from now. So when the requests come, like 90 units on 10 acres where, you know, you're in mostly agricultural property, you're prepared for that and you can say, no, not here, but possibly there. So most of all, I just want to say thank y'all. And that's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
So I would just like to piggyback a little bit onto what Ms. Morris said and agree with her. Social Circle is in a very unique position. We are growing and that's not going to change, but where we put things is very important. Last time our residents were surveyed, it was found that people wanted more detached single-family housing, not necessarily large lots, but detached single-family housing. And with that in mind, I look to Covington, our nearest neighbor, and they have literally hundreds of apartments and attached family housing that is standing empty that they cannot get people to fill. And to invest on a large scale with that in our community may be something that would not be a great idea 10 or 15 years down the road. There are plenty of ways to put in higher density neighborhoods that are not single or that are not attached housing. And so I think that should be something that we should consider.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Just like to make a comment as a zoning attorney, not on behalf of my client, just me. I just ask, when you do the plan, just add as much detail as you can and as much clarity. I spend a lot of time in comprehensive plans, and that is very helpful to clients and preparing for these zonings. And then too, if there's any way you could coordinate with the county's GIS to layer this into Q Public, so that when somebody's looking to buy property, you can just click a button and it shows the comp plan, that would be amazing. So that's my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you for those. Is there anyone else? Okay, well, like the auctioneer said, we'll close the public hearing.
What auctions have you been to?
Not very good ones. Yeah, not very good ones. Those car auctions that always get me for the, I always get the lemon. All right, if there's any other discussion that needs to be had on this, let's talk about it. If not, start putting together some ideas. You've heard things from the 3 speakers tonight. Start putting some ideas together so that we can better help
the community,
the staff,
yeah,
with things that we see, that we talk to our neighbors, we talk to our family, we know things that we would like to see here, and this is our opportunity on a kind of a mid-year to maybe put some of those ideas in place into that plan, so that way we'll better prepared to discuss it at March. With that, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I would just say, just a reminder that we're really only focusing on the land use element. So we're not focusing on, we're really focusing on, that portion of it. Maybe tweaking.
Think big picture.
Yeah, maybe tweaking like, I think in the middle of the city, there's like, the future land use map says O&I should go there, but we've had a lot of questions about industry going there. So, it's just one of those things where take a look at the future land use map. We do have it on our website. It isn't layered on Q Public. It's a separate map, but, that is definitely good advice. So, if you get the chance, take a look at it. If anybody has any questions or anything like that, I have some cards back there. My information is on the screen and also our planner. You can reach out to either one of us with any questions, comments, concerns, anything about the comprehensive plan update. We will take all of that and we will bring it to the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission and Mayor and Council to hopefully get into this amendment. But in 2027, we will be doing the full-fledged top to bottom revamp of our comprehensive plan too. So in 2 years from now, we'll be looking at the whole thing again. So that's all I have.
No new business to report it on the agenda, other than we will have items to consider in March. And with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Have a motion? We have a motion in 2 seconds. No discussion. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Let this motion be, let the meeting be adjourned. Thank you.